This is PJNET.TV, and this is my perspective and comments. In this video segment of My Perspective and Comments, we cover politics, society here and abroad, and the events of the day that are shaping our nation. PJNET.TV, My Perspective and Comment, coming to you with a worldview, one nation under God. Welcome to My Perspective and Comments. And COVID-19, we see a diminishing of hospitalizations and throughout the nation. And again, more and more talk of endemic. We have seen some rollbacks of these mandates, but again, they don't want to let go of everything. And the latest right now is that we had come up on a date of opening up the airlines to get the masks off at the airlines, but no, CDC, no, we kick the can down the road for April now. So again, you know, again, CDC, WHO, are they, is it medical science or political science? And I think over the last 2 years, with all the information that is now finally coming out about what the CDC, what information they held that ordinary Americans and worldwide, people worldwide that needed specific information so that they could make an informed consent on whether or not to take these jabs, they didn't get it. The CDC held information that we should have known right from the get-go, 2 years when these vaccines came out. So we've seen the game that has been played by the so-called medical profession, and a lot is lacking, and a lot of information was held back because they didn't want people to know everything that was going on surrounding the clinical trials and the information that was gleaned from those clinical trials, what information came out, what information was withheld. And again, there was a lot of information that was held back. So that is where we are right now. The airlines right now still want to mandate these keeping the masks on, but again, it will be looked at in April, the middle to end of April. I want to talk about spending, and inflation, but we're going to talk about what just took place here this past week. A $1.5 trillion omnibus spending bill passed out of the House. This was a 2,700-page omnibus spending bill. Can you repeat after me, more spending, more spending? And that's where we are right now. Where did this money go? Where was some of this spending being divvied out to? Well, you guessed it. The Green New Deal. More COVID monies to be spent. Without a word in this bill about taking and eliminating all mandates. No. Throw money for COVID, but not demand that these all these draconian mandates get removed. I mean, we still have our military men and women that have not taken the jab. We've got medical health staff that is still they're firing left and right. because they haven't taken the jab. So they need to all be removed. But that should have been in the bill. If they're going to pass this bill, this should have been a prerequisite as part of that bill. But it wasn't. Let's see now. What else? Ukrainian money. Abortion money. The IRS funding. Yeah. Grab your wallets. They're coming after it. Like they haven't been already this past year. But yeah, IRS funding. Earmarks. You know it. Earmarks. Pork. Another word, pork spending. And the Americans wonder why we're in an inflation peril right now. And the sad part about this, it's not the Democrats it's not all the Democrats that are pushing this, but it's bipartisan. And that is what is sad is there might be, if at all, 5 in the House and 5 in the Senate that are true conservative Republicans. The rest of them are rhinos. 5 in each, 10 at the most, that are actually legislating for the people, and the rest are just the Mitch McConnells and the Kevin McCarthys. They are going along to get along, and the Democrats say jump, and the Republicans say how high, and that's where we are with the GOP. So, and the sad part about it is that the same leadership that we see in here now are going to be the ones that are going to be expected to continue on with this appeasement to the left when we take the House and Senate. You almost want to wonder, why vote Republican? Why hand over the majority to only to see the same legislation being passed and being pushed? The same agenda that the left is pushing, the Republicans will go along with it. Maybe slightly less, but it's still we're still on the wrong track when it comes to these squishy Republicans. I want to talk about, we talked about squishy Republicans, but, there are some bright spots. And I want to talk about America's governor right now. You know it, Ron DeSantis of Florida. The bright spot in this nation, and who's been leading the nation, not only the state of Florida, but he's been leading the nation when he's been pushing back against all the crazy mandates, tyrannical mandates. Ron DeSantis has been standing up as a strong bulwark against, against the push from the Capitol with these draconian lockdowns, forced mandates, and so on. And he's been a bright spot. Well, this past week or the week before, they had assembled a medical panel, physicians panel. Over 11 physicians had gathered together to voice concerns that what took place over this last 2 years, with the lockdowns and the lack of trust that we are now seeing. Americans are starting to wake up and starting to see over the last 2 years the double talk and all the information that's been coming out regarding what we should have known regarding COVID-19, what we should have known about the early treatment that was withheld, what we should have been told about the studies that were out there regarding ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and others. But no, we had others that were withholding that information. And I'll give you a hint: Big Pharma. and along with these so-called medical doctors, those doctors that you saw on the Sunday shows that were talking about what we needed to do and how powerful these vaccines were, 95%, until they put them in people's arms, and then that percentage started to circle the drain after they started sticking them in people's arms, and they started to see, hey, wait a minute, the efficacy here is waning. So now you hear the story, yeah, it wanes after so many months. Well, if it's waning, that's a problem. If it's waning, then that means that these vaccines aren't what they were advertised as. And this is where we are, and more people are finding out, wait a minute, I thought a vaccine, you got a jab and you were protected, and you protected other people. Well, that's not the case. And the American people should have been told that. But no, they were sold a bill of goods. But now the truth, the studies, and what these frontline doctors have been saying for 2 years now about this isn't right. We should be enacting early treatment, and there are drugs that are effective against COVID, but they were silenced. They were attacked. But we should have listened to those frontline doctors, those patriot doctors that were sounding the alarm, that we didn't have to go down this road with this experiment. We didn't have to be the guinea pigs. And now our kids are subject to this. And now we're hearing more and more out of the VAERS starting to be reported about people all of a sudden falling down and passing out, and heart attacks and blood clots, and continuing on. And now when it gets up into the millions, which we are right now, with adverse reactions and deaths, now more and more they're starting to come out and say, wait a minute here, this isn't normal. And if this was 30 years ago, those vaccines would have pulled the plug on that. In fact, the information that we're finding out now is that when they were in the middle of those clinical trials, there were warning signs, but they plowed right on through. Hey, the American people, no problem. We'll just tell them a story, and we'll continue on with this experiment. And that's what has taken place, and that's what we're now finding out regarding these drug companies, Pfizer and Moderna, and their trials, and what information we weren't privy to. But now we're getting some. If that's why Pfizer wanted to wait 75 years before they released any reports on these trials, because they knew what these vaccines, how effective these vaccines were, and they didn't want that information to get out. So again, it's great to have Ron Johnson, Ron DeSantis assemble this panel, and he's done this before, and YouTube wanted to ban it. Well, they did. They did ban it. But again, he's been at the forefront, and I mentioned Ron Johnson. He's been a hero. He's been one of those senators that has stood up and brought these vaccine injured to tell their story, and to bring these frontline doctors and to let them explain what's been taking place over the last 2 years. So again, America's governor has been in the forefront to push back against this medical tyranny, and the state of Florida has been looking great. Also, that panel, the medical panel that was assembled, Dr. Robert Malone, I've mentioned him before, one of the inventors of the RNA vaccine, the inventor, and he had some things to say regarding what has taken place. And I just want to speak to what Dr. Malone had to say, and it was talking about the CDC. He said, the CDC is acting as a political arm when we were, and he was just explaining, when we were being trained, we believed as physicians that the CDC was a neutral arbitrator of truth. But Dr. Malone goes on and said his belief in the CDC has diminished because of the current administration has weaponized public health for political purposes. Yeah, Biden and the Democrats and Big Pharma have joined together, and they've pushed this experiment on people, and it no longer was about medical science, but it's been 2 years about political science. So that's where we have, that's where we are. And it's again, this kind of has, over the last couple weeks, have been just brushed right off the news because now we have Ukraine. And maybe the focus has been so highly on Ukraine because they wanted to get some of this information off the front pages, because more and more information has come out about the information that has been withheld. And these so-called the medical profession knew about these problems with these vaccines. But again, we can't leave out there is aggression from Russia against Ukraine that's been taking place and has been playing out. But again, when the world, and I had mentioned this a year ago. Of the concern with Biden and the weakness being shown around the world. Afghanistan, a prime example that probably led to Russia saying, okay, time to move. This guy's not going to do anything. He's weak, and we can. The world saw what took place in Afghanistan, and now we're here with Russia. And again, as I have warned, it may not even stop with Russia, but China's waiting in the wings to take their swing. So definitely concerns going on, but I don't want to. COVID is still here, and the tyranny is still. We need to get the tyranny lifted off many Americans right now. Like I said, our troops, our medical staff, they need to hire them back, the ones that got fired, and the airlines. Every area, every inch of what these politicians took from us, our freedoms and liberties, they all need to be given back. And this, as I said before, this is going to be a fight. This is going to be a battle, because once these politicians, the governors, and we see the president here, the Congress, they have this power and they want to hang on to it. But we need to fight to get all this tyranny that we've seen over the last 2 years. It needs to be removed. State of emergencies gone. No more to be seen is what we need to see. I'd like to shift gears here and again, reporting. It's been, it's almost like you've got one narrative out of the left. And sadly, we have so-called conservative news or conservative broadcasts that almost sound similar. Now, I've played here from some conservative station. Fox has traditionally been where you'd go to get maybe a more right leaning, but I'll tell you, there's a lot of commentators, a lot of so-called journalists that we see on Fox now that you might as well be listening to CNN or MSNBC from some of the reporting that we're getting. But there's been one solid the journalist that has been holding not only the Democrats' feet to the fire, but he's also been holding these squishy Republicans to be accountable, and that's Tucker Carlson. And I want us to take a look at a clip here, or a segment that talking about Americans getting poorer. We're in a stretch here where the middle class is getting hit over the head, and the excuse is, we've got aggression taking place, so now we have to, shoot ourselves in the foot. And the crime that's taking place right now is this so-called president is saying, yeah, there's going to be a little pain. Americans, you're going to have to, just take it, because we need to, push back against Putin. Nothing to say about the energy that we have right here in this country, and we need to start getting it. We need to get back to becoming energy independent. And this guy isn't saying anything about that. He's just saying you're going to have to sacrifice. And oh yeah, the oil companies, they have leases. I mean, there's leases available. Only problem is these leases aren't on where the oil is right now. We need to go back to where President Trump had us and serious about having America energy independent, where we're exporting the product, where we're exporting oil, natural gas. But that's where Biden, when it comes to sacrifice, no, we're not going to go in energy independent. You're just going to have to suffer. And when prices go to $6, $7, $8 a gallon, oh well, buy an EV, buy an electrical vehicle. There you go. That'll solve your problem. And that is a strategy that they want to make energy so high. And it doesn't have to be, but oh yeah, now we can just start singing the song, yeah, electric vehicle, that'll solve our problem. No, it won't. Because electric vehicles need electricity. Where are they going to get it? Not from windmills, not from solar panels. They're still going to have to use our natural resources. And I want to include one other, along with Tucker Carlson, for us to take a look at here, that's bringing some spot-on analysis on who's really, truly accountable with the debacle that we're seeing in our nation right now, and inflation and our energy policy, where the responsibility squarely lies. Yes, Joe Biden. And we're going to hear from her right now before Tucker Carlson. That's Laura Ingram's. Check out her take on who's responsible for this debacle that we're seeing in our nation right now. Take a look.